Welcome back, everybody, to the Right Path Podcast, where being an author, an actual author, still matters. This is the podcast that's for authors, it's about authors, and it's done by an author. This is the place where we share our journeys together. We explore our creativity, but most importantly, we examine that why behind it all. Folks, our guest today, absolutely wonderful lady that I've had the pleasure of meeting for about 4 minutes, and I'm already blown away. Cannot wait to bring her and her story to the show. She is the creator of the Confetti Effect, which I already love. That's a blog and a movement, which we're going to hear more about. She also is the creator of the Sprinkle of Confetti 10-day devotional on the Bible app. So we're dealing with a star now. Okay, here we go. And she's also the author of the awesome book, A Tale of Two Dogs, which I just found out is a little bit autobiographical. So we're going to find out more about that as the show progresses. Please welcome to the show, Kirsten Telan. Kirsten, how you doing today?
Hi, great, Rory. I love being on this right path, so appreciate it.
Thank you so much. If you're not watching the video portion of this, you're not going to know that this lady has been just smiling and beaming since moment one. It's been unbelievable. I mean, I was actually trying to get my energy level up for this podcast, and 2 minutes with her, and I'm like ready to rock. It's absolutely awesome. So thank you for bringing that energy and light to the show. It's been great already, and we just started.
Thank you so much. So appreciate that.
You have so many things that we could talk about here. Tell us a little bit about Kirsten. What got you into all of this wonderful stuff that you're doing, and tell us a little bit about just you.
Okay, thank you. Completely got orchestrated 150%. We brought two little puppies in our lives during COVID. And what's important is that your audience know that we were very pug-centric people. I don't know if there are pug lovers out there, but there are dog lovers and then there are pug lovers. And we had two different pugs that we love so much. They passed away during COVID, and we decided let's get another little pug. And then we're going to do something different. We're going to bring a Shiba Inu. It took me a year to figure out how to say that. A Shiba Inu into the fold. So we had our little pug Murphy and our little Shiba Mochi within a few months of each other. And I started observing their behavior. It was 10 months into them living and coexisting here with us. And Rory, I looked at my little pug and I thought, why is this pug different than the other two we previously had? This pug took on hunting from the Shiba. Um, he's outside digging holes, hunting for lizards, frogs. He can jump up on a kitchen table. He's very uh, stealth. Pugs aren't typically like that. They're little walking ottomans this pug should wear a cape. He took on all these attributes of Mochi, the little Shiba, and now our Shiba Inu. Shibas are one step away from the wolf family, and I don't know if you knew
Oh,
that,
I did
but
not know that. No.
they are hunters. And I had a neighbor that had one, and they said, oh, they're very aloof and independent and more cat-like, not as present. And you don't really want them around a lot of people because you just don't know their temperament. Well, our little Sheba started sitting on our lap. She's a lap dog, so she took on those pug qualities. So I took my three-ring college binder out and sat down one day and I wrote a little rhyme about these two dogs and how they took on each other's characteristics and attributes. And I started thinking, isn't that so lovely how their differences were making them stronger and better together? And then I thought, this is absolutely applicable to humans. And so that is my theme. My blog that I've been writing is to spread kindness like confetti, and that is my mantra, and that is what I do, and that is what I love. So, with all of this said, A Tale of Two Dogs is spreading kindness like confetti and showing us how we can live together amongst our differences, and we can be better and stronger because of it.
Okay, I love the whole thing. I really do. I love that it came from the dogs, and the dogs sort of helped with the generation of the idea to
Yes,
begin with.
yes.
So, I mean, your dogs are obviously incredibly important to you.
They really are. And who doesn't
Awesome.
love dogs? They're our emotional support. They make you happy.
Oh yeah.
They are always happy to see you. They forgive you. They love you. They teach you how to be in the moment. So my dogs have taught me a lot of spiritual lessons, very quiet spiritual lessons on what I just mentioned, on even simplicity,
Hmm.
but being in the moment. And I wrote an article a couple of years ago about spelling God backwards. And do you realize spelling God backwards is dog?
Not till just now.
So there is a lot that I unpack with that and a lot of realization. And it's just how dogs, they're always happy to see us. They want to be around us. They want to love us. And that's just what God wants to do too with us. He's always near. Always waiting, and he is always present. And so there's a lot of parallels between that. So it stopped me in my tracks when I took a deep dive in all of that. And I thought, wow, dogs are God's creatures, and there are a lot of similarities with all of it and a lot of lessons.
Love that. Your faith is obviously very important to you. Just in talking this brief time, it's very clear. Have you always been, in the faith that way, or was it something you raised that way, or was it something that kind of, happened, like an event caused?
Wow, such a great question. I'm glad this podcast is going to be 4 hours. Um,
We'll have you back.
I don't know where to begin, although my pastor says when we show up, God shows up. And I was raised in Boston, Massachusetts, cute little quaint, tiny, beautiful town. Went to that church in the local neighborhood. All the families went there. We sang in the choir. We made little muffins for the congregation. We did all this kind of thing. I think it was Tuesdays. We'd go to little weekday Sunday school, but on a Tuesday. The thing that's so fascinating is that once I left the threshold of the church, never was church, God, scripture, Bible ever discussed. So we didn't come home and talk about the Sunday school lesson that day. We didn't come home and talk about, oh, wasn't that lovely what Father Rick said today about forgiveness. So fascinating. We didn't do any of that. It was like all that happened in the church. And then when you left the church, the end. So that's how I was raised. And that's not really a bad thing, but I wasn't practicing anything. I wasn't working on anything. I didn't know, did Matthew come before Luke what's the Old Testament? Oh, is that in the New Testament? Nothing.
Right.
And it's okay because I'm the first one to tell you humility is how you lead people to God and be disciples because I got really affected by people that were trying to be too preachy with me and trying to it almost works the other way around where it almost makes you feel bad like you're not worthy
Yeah.
or oh you haven't done a Bible study. Oh, you haven't memorized scripture. I run from all of that. And see, I did. I ran from all of that in my 20s, my 30s. We moved down to Florida. My dad got a job transfer, and it was a culture shock in its own. We had severe Bostonian accents. We dressed a little differently. And so it took a couple years to really get into this world down here in Orlando, Florida. But as I became, we're becoming new every single day. So I feel like there's six different Kirstens, versions of me from my teens to my 20s to my 30s to my 40s to almost 60s. And I just feel like I had to change because there were lots of sweet people that invited me to Bible studies and to church and all of this stuff, go across the street to go to a little study. And I'd always say, oh, thank you so much, but I'm busy or I can't do it. I felt like I wasn't worthy to do any of that. I felt like all those women knew more than me. And I was a young mama, so I was trying to figure out how to be a good mom, but there was no book on how to be a good mom. Go to page 12. What do you do? Okay, no. So there was a lot going on in those years. And I do think that God said, I'm gonna wait till you're later in life, almost in your late 50s, 60s, so you can help mentor young women that feel exactly like you. So I do feel like all of us have a testimonial, and it's not by accident because God has already written all our chapters. He knows the end of the book, and He knows how everything's going to work out. And I realized it wasn't my timeline. I have no control, and that it's His timeline, not mine. Um, I want to say, I don't know if I'm talking too much for you, Rory, but it really took some hard things to tether us and go back and say, hey, we better find a home church. My husband had a sickness, cancer, crazy. You always think, oh, that's going to be somebody else. Oh, no, it was my husband.
Yeah.
And so he's fine. He's moved through it. We've pushed through it. It's been several years, but he felt untethered too. And he said to me, I think we need to go and get a church. We were in church, but we got out of it when the kids grew up. And I think we can fix things with our own understanding and lean on our own understanding. And that's what we thought. And then one of my dear friends, she had a real difficult situation with her son and her family and her husband, and all this happened around the same week. So
Mm.
that brought us back into church. We have taken a deep dive into church. My husband and I now teach marriage classes, marriage mentoring. If you were to tell me 3 years ago we'd be doing any of this, no. We're part of the hospitality team at the church. We like to greet people because we know the first 9 seconds when you pull up to church, you're either going to pull up in that parking spot and maybe back out of it and go home
Yeah.
because maybe you don't know anyone. Maybe you're feeling like, why am I here? But we greet people, we make them feel comfortable. So I feel very equipped to be able to do that for people and with people because you have to be humble and you have to be consistent and you have to be genuine and you have to be authentic because you have to be aligned. You have to be the same person in all your friend groups. And that is something that I wasn't. I wasn't always that. Oh, my work friends. I was a little different there. Oh, when I was selling different products in my work life, I was a little different when I was selling those types of things. Different people of all backgrounds. My neighbors, my high school friends, college, I wasn't aligned. So now I can promise you that I am the same person in all my friend groups, family, friend. This is what you're going to get. And I think I was always a little fearful of that. What are people going to think?
Mm.
Imposter syndrome settles in like, oh, is that, oh, Kirsten goes to Bible studies now? Oh, she never did that, or I never heard her talk about that, or she seems more faith-based now. I don't apologize for anything. And I think once you get to the point in your life where you're not a people pleaser,
Yeah.
and that's the number one thing I think with this journey and being able to write a book, because as you know, you're an author. Isn't that so vulnerable? Are people going to like what I write? Who's going to read this? Who am I to even write this book? What will people think? It's mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I had to push through all of that, and that's fear can be paralyzing and fear can be a destroyer in so many ways. So that's why I feel like I'm on fire for Jesus because he is the one that keeps me on track because I fall off the tracks every hour. And so I got to get back on it. And it's, you go to church on Sunday and you're filled up and you feel great. And then Tuesday you're like, wow, I was not that nice. And why did I had my horn on my for about 10 seconds, the person in front of me on I-4, that's not very nice. Somebody was not very nice to me in a grocery store. So we're all human and we all try to do our best, but we all will always fall short. So we have to be careful to give ourselves grace too and not be too hard on ourselves and know that we're doing our best.
Wow. I'm so glad I asked you that question. I really am. My goodness. Very often when we're not lined up with our faith, then we can't really get the message that we're supposed to be getting about what we're supposed to be doing and who we're supposed to become and things like that. Do you feel like getting aligned like that sort of opened the pathway for you to find this message and this path that you're on now with the books and the blog and so on?
Yes, and I remember the moment it happened, and I'll tell you why. I started blogging. I was in a school system for 15 years. I loved it. I did mentoring, volunteering, teaching, subbing, and then they got me into the admissions part of it. Then I was coordinating that. Then the director left, and ooh, okay, I'm director of admissions. Fun, lots of love people, love to sell things. When you believe in a product, it is easy to sell because my kids went to the same school. So I was like, oh, the reading and this and the math, you're going to love it. The history, the field trips. I could do all that real lovely. But I left there after 15 years and it was perfect timing, retired from there, and it took me about 3 months, Rory, to stop hearing bells. Bells ringing all over that school all the time. That's the same at every school, but it didn't I needed to settle down, and then I found myself one day sitting in a coffee shop, and 8 hours later it was actually great therapy too. I was writing these articles about empty nesting, forgiveness, boundaries, how to reinvent yourself. And I kind of looked up and went, what am I doing? And I've always liked to write. I've always loved literature and reading. But what happened is the confetti effect was born out of that because it was going and doing good and finding meaning and impact and adding value to other people's lives. This is what I started realizing. And then I thought, I'm going to spread confetti, kindness like confetti. This is what we're going to do because confetti is bright and fun and it's small and you kind of throw it up in the air and you don't have to be perfect and it's nothing big and grand. It's little small gestures of holding a door open for somebody or just smiling or just a thank you note or putting a little scripture verse on somebody's car windshield. There's a million and one things we can do without spending money or making this all perfect. And what I love is you don't have to take it before an executive board and have everybody vote on what you need to do to cut flowers from your garden, put them in a vase, and put them on a neighbor's front doorstep. So I always say, go and do. Just walk out your front door and do it. Don't get anybody's permission. You don't need to get girlfriends together and come up with this, you know, thing you got to do every day. No, just go and do something nice for somebody. Don't get the board together. So, but swirling back and answering your question, all those articles I wrote early on were more self-help. And it's so interesting. My blog is on my website, but if you go through there, I think there's probably 45 plus articles now, but early on, I look back and it's almost like time travel. You know, when you write something and you look back on it, you remember who you used to be or who you were, and it's fascinating. All of it went self-help to faith-based. And I remember when that happened, and my husband said to me, "Oh, that article, you're talking a lot about God and faith, and you've never done that before. Are you sure you want to do that?" And I said, I don't know. Do you think people are going to think, oh, did Kirsten go through some uh, 10-day spiritual thing? Did they put her out in the woods somewhere? I don't
Right.
know. Did she go on a retreat and listen to one person and decide this is her life now? And I remember he made me question it. And I was nervous about getting it published. And I said, nope, I'm going to go for it. And after that article, all the articles after that are all faith-based. And it was a reflection of something that was going on a little deeper in me. And it was happening in my heart and my life. And it was just transforming. I initially wrote from a place of wanting to help people with tips and advice and guidance and all this stuff and navigating through empty nest. But then I realized my deepest source of help and peace and purpose was found in my faith. And I think I become a deeper, more in-depth person. And I think my writing got deeper and has more depth and layers to it now. So it was a turning point, and I know exactly the day that happened. So,
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. You know, you talked about imposter syndrome a couple of times, and I think we all experience that at some point when we're authors. I did when I first started podcasting, But people don't realize how much that hits you in the feels when you're talking about your faith and about how very often, if we haven't been very loud in our faith, that we end up uh, having that imposter syndrome, like we're not really, faith based or we're not really Christian, right? Because we didn't check all the boxes and go through the training that's required, apparently.
Yes, it's so wild. I don't let that hit me anymore, but I didn't even know what that was until a friend of mine said a couple of years ago, "Oh, well, imposter syndrome." She
Yeah.
uh, works with students and writes essays and helps them get into college and this and that, but she had mentioned it and I said, "Oh, what is that?" And when she told me, I thought, "Huh, interesting. I've never experienced it." Oh, well, I was going to 3 years later when I was writing this book and then finding an illustrator and a publisher and oh, a website and oh, podcasting. Oh. So it's yeah, like who are we to be able to give advice or tell somebody about this or that and the other? And then I realized, oh no, we all have our own testimony. And that testimony can
Right.
just, if that testimony just helps that one person that's listening and connects and says, no way, that is exactly what I felt like when I was in my 20s, or, oh, it's normal. It helps other people realize that they're not alone and they're not the only one going through something. So that's
Yeah.
why it's important to do this kind of stuff. And I've realized that.
I love that. I appreciate you sharing, that. I know that's a little off the beaten path for talking about books and stuff, but I appreciate your openness to share that. That was great.
Thank you.
Your the confetti effect seems as though no, that came before the book. Am I right? Do I have the
Yes, the
timeline right?
timeline is right. That was
Okay.
2017 when that Confetti Effect blog was born,
Okay.
and my book just got published September 2nd, 2025, just last year.
Oh, goodness. Okay.
In the
So it's a
fall.
fairly recent publication too, top of everything else. So where does the book come from? Because it sounds like it's a little autobiographical about the other members of your family.
It's so funny. I guess it is. Is it fiction? Is it nonfiction? Well, I didn't know what God was going to be doing with me in this book, which is so fascinating. But I wrote the book during COVID, as I told you. I love rhyme. I love rhyming. I always have loved rhyming. I love poetry. I love repetition. And I think that's why I actually like Proverbs and Psalms because there's so much repetition in those two books.
Yeah.
And I realize I'm drawn to them, but in numbers as well. But I love rhyming. And I sat down and I wrote this little rhyme about my two little dogs, Mochi and Murphy. And then I put it on a bookshelf for 2 years. And I decided to do some spring cleaning, dusting, and I'm taking all this stuff off my bookshelf. And I get this 3 ring subject binder out with, because I'm an 80s lady and I just write. I love paper and I love pen. And I love it so much. And I looked at this and I read this rhyme, and it's very simple. And then who am I to attach an author's note? I attached an author's note to this 2 years before. And I thought, this is so funny. And this is spreading kindness like confetti, how our differences make us stronger and better together, and how these two lovable pups demonstrate all of this. And I read it to my adult children and my husband, and they were like, "That's really cute. You should try to get that published." And I just burst out laughing because you're an author and you know that there is a big journey when it comes to that.
Oh,
And
goodness. Yeah.
oh, goodness. And I laughed at them and I thought, huh. I said, how in the world would we do that? So I'm like, Siri, how do you find an illustrator? Siri, how do you find a publisher? And it was so silly.
Hmm.
And the old Kirsten would have put a circle peg in a square, and I would have tried to force this entire thing, and it would have been an absolute disaster. So the new and older and wiser Kirsten decided to pause and pray and not do anything. And I just sat back and I thought, I'm just going to keep praying about this, and maybe there's somebody out there that can draw these pictures of my pug and my Shiba. And there's a lot of landscape because I don't know if your audience knows this, but Shibas are born and bred in Japan. They're
Did not
Japanese
know that.
dogs,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful dogs. And pugs are born and bred in China. So I don't know if you can tell where I'm going with this, but I thought this could educate children on travel and China. I've been to China, I've been to Japan. My son lived in both for a little while, and that's why we have a Shiba, because he was in Japan and he said, "Oh, there's the most beautiful dog there, and it's almost like the golden doodle of the USA. Everybody has Shibas in Japan." And I was like, "Shiba what?" And so he showed me a picture, and I knew nothing about them, neither did the whole family. But this is how we end up getting our Shiba here, but I thought, isn't that cool? Because it's a little bit of a travel. You learn a little bit about China, a little bit about Japan. The landscapes are beautiful in the book. Everything is confetti colored, bright pinks and yellows and greens and purples and and so I thought, a couple months later, my colleague who worked with me, who was art director, who taught my children how to color, I thought, I wonder if she would be interested in doing these illustrations. So I sat down with her. I explained everything, and that's vulnerable, isn't it? Like, is she even
Oh
going to
yeah.
like the story? Is she going to think this is stupid? Like, what? And so I sat down and I had cut things out that I saw in magazines. Again, 80s. I had a glue stick and I cut things out and put them on pages the way I wanted the landscapes to look, the way the dogs were to look, and I wrote in all my text, and that's the hardest part, to match your text with illustration. And I
Mhm.
sat down, I flipped the whole thing with her, and she said, "I'm in. I cannot wait. This is going to be so fun."
Wow.
And I love her. She's my glitter girl. We've known each other for 15 years. A few people have said to me, "She never came to your mind?" And I said, "No, I never even thought of her because I was too busy trying to find somebody, asking Siri who I could find." I, I don't, do you see how that is? So you have to pause, you have to pray. Do not force anything, would be my advice to give to your audience if you want to write a book. And also, you don't need to be an award-winning writer or anything like that. Because if I can write a book, anyone can write a book. And I feel like you just need heart, you need grit. And so I got my illustrator, and she is fantastic. We spent 1 year together meeting up at different restaurants and venues and coffee shops and houses. And she needed to see my dogs and figure out their personalities. Um, I love it so much. She let me. Another thing is when you're doing a children's book, you have to know you can eliminate a page. That didn't work. Oh, I didn't. Let's rip that out. Some people think, and the younger kids, "Oh no, that I made a mistake. It doesn't look good anymore. Now look at it. It looks terrible." Okay. Eliminate, rip, cross it off, rip it out, make a big mess. And when I go into the schools, I try to tell the third and fourth and fifth and sixth graders, please don't be perfect. Just start writing. And eliminate is a word that I use a lot. You can eliminate any of it. You can change your plot. Life is a rewrite. We are completely rewriting every day. It's a draft. Aren't we always
Oh yeah.
redoing, rewriting? And so after I got my illustrator, we were working all this, and she said, "Oh, are you going to self-publish?" And I said, I have no idea how to, I don't know. So I thought I'm going to pray about that and pause on that. And I'm walking around the lake, and a friend of mine says, "Oh, yeah, I was trying to get a book published, and I sent a book proposal to a publishing company out in Oregon called, I don't even know the name." And I said, "Huh." So I went on my laptop and publishing company in Oregon, and it was a cute little company that I think it was called like Little Fish or Deep River, something like that. It caught my eye because it was cute and it was for children. And I hit that book proposal tab on their website, read a little bit about them, and then a book proposal, I don't know, everybody's different. Maybe it should take a week or maybe not. It took me 3 months because fear paralyzed me.
Right.
3 months to do a book proposal. All you have to do, attach a resume. Why did you write this book? Send us your copy, all of that. My husband was like, you can never submit that? And I said, I don't know. Obviously, I'm afraid of, you know, getting rejected because, of course, they're going to reject me. I can be self-deprecating. And one day he just hit submit. And I went, what did you do? Was the comma in the right place? Was that a run-on sentence? Do you think I should have put another headshot in there? He goes, I'm done. I'm over it. And he's my high school sweetheart. And this is all in fun, but I was like, I cannot believe you just did that. And he said, somebody had to do that. So you got to have a cheerleader behind you because you got to have somebody that's like wanting you to succeed and you can trust them. But I don't know if I ever would have hit the submit button, Rory. So guess what? Submit. Week later, hear back from this cute little publishing company out in Oregon. And he said, thank you for your submission. And I'm like, oh, and he said, but we are not accepting any new authors at this time. We are focusing on the ones we have, and we are trying to market them better. We are trying to promote them better. And so that's what we're doing over here. However, I find this book delightful, and I have put my friend from another publishing company on this thread, and I would recommend this book for publication. So, and I went, what? What? So I thanked him, and then I immediately reached out to the person that he recommended. We went Zoom calls, interviews, everything, and it was so wonderful. And then he said to me, "Don't call me. I'll call you. I got to take this to my authors board." And we accept 11 to 14 books a year,
Wow.
children's books,
Yeah.
because they don't do a lot of children's books. I didn't know. And he said, "Don't call me, I'll call you." And I was like, "Okay, that sounds great." I hung up. I thought the interview first one would be 10 minutes. It was like an hour and a half. I thought the second one would be 10 minutes. It was an hour and a half. And so 1 week, 2 week, 3 week, we're on week five. I've not forgotten about it, but you know me, that's never going to happen. I'll never hear back from anyone. Week five, they call me, and I did the only thing I knew to do is hang up. I sent it to voicemail when they called. I was like, I can't talk right. I didn't know. And so I remember then getting in my car, settling down because I was out in the mall running errands or whatever. And I listened to this voicemail, and they said, welcome to Morgan James Publishing. We are
Nice.
so thrilled to have you as our newest author. And so that is where the journey began. Um, if you were to tell me what I needed to learn and do from that moment they called me to a year later getting this published, I know in my own humanness, I would have said, oh, no, I don't want to do any of that. But that's why it was baby steps. Oh, I need to get a website? What? Oh, I need to figure out a domain name and Dropbox and Microsoft Word and all this technology that I am just not equipped to do in my generation. That I'm not equipped to do. So I had highs and lows with it. And I learned a lot about myself. I learned that I don't give up. So I say I want to, and then I can't. I can't do it. So it's just not my DNA. It's not my DNA.
I mean, just wow. I love your story. I got to also give you and your husband credit. You must have an incredibly strong marriage because I don't know too many men who would have attempted that maneuver and expected to remain married afterwards.
Known him since seventh grade.
Okay. So,
Known
so
him since seventh grade.
you're not going anywhere, either one of you at
Not
this
going
point.
anywhere. 35 years. We laugh. We're like, nobody would put up with either one of us. We laugh so hard, but it's just we can finish each other's sentences. So, and you just know there's that trust there, and you know that that person wants the best for you.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
Like I said, most men would have been scared to death to ever try a move like that. But God works mysterious ways, and every once in a while, He gives us that little oomph that we need to, have, even if it's to help somebody else out. So, wow, kudos to Him for the bravery, and to you for not just destroying them after that. But it worked out,
Did work
which is
out.
really why the story is funny and not
They are
tragic.
still married after the book got published. The end.
There you go. That's a whole other book, which
That's
is
yeah, that's part
wonderful.
10. Oh,
All right. So the book's about these dogs, and through the book with these dogs, with these awesome illustrations that you got from this friend of yours that you've been friends with for 15 years, which is all fantastic. Love the entire story. You try to teach lessons,
yes.
right? Now, in this, and I know you wanted to touch on it a little bit. You don't have to give away all of them. You don't have to give away the entire secret sauce of the book. But do you want to touch on the nine fruit of the spirit attributes that you talk about in the book?
Yes, yes. That's also something that we want to talk about, a lot of stress. I was going through a Galatians Bible study around the same time I had completed most of those illustrations. The text was done, I thought.
Okay.
And this is again for your audience. You are the author. Take things out, do things over, rewrite it. Don't, it doesn't have to be perfect until it does when it goes to the publishing company. But I literally one night sat up and thought, what? I need to put all those nine fruit of the spirit in my book, all of them. I got to take out all the adjectives and put these nine words in. I really felt like God spoke to me and said, this is going to be how you educate. This is the education part of the book because my goal, and my publisher taught me this too. They said you need to encourage, you need to inspire, you need to entertain, and you need to educate. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is the education portion of it. So I took all those adjectives out and then I put love and joy and peace and patience and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness and self-control in the little book. And the words are hidden throughout. You can find them in different little places. In the text, most of those words are talked about, but all of those words are going to be found somewhere in those illustrations. And that is what led me to then do a devotional. And then I thought, I'm going to do a 10-day devotional the first day explaining about how each day is going to highlight a sprinkle of confetti of one of these fruit of the Spirit. And then I'm going to have a scripture verse that goes along with it. And then I'm going to have a very simple activity or just a family activity to do. And then I'll have a reflection. And then I'll end with a prayer. And that's it. And so that came out of all the fruit. And I love talking about the fruit of the Spirit. And I just love planting seeds because I think that is what life is, planting little seeds that in my little world, sometimes I want things immediately fixed or done or taken care of. But I know it can take, some things in my life have taken about 20 years to sow and see the benefits of, whether it's mending a relationship or something with your children that perhaps you've been praying about for them and wanting them to do or see, or maybe taking a little turn down a different path. So I realized that these fruit of the Spirit are little seeds that we have to plant every day in people's hearts and minds.
Wow. Okay. Absolutely love that. Okay. Your message is wonderful. The you and I talked a little bit about this beforehand, so I don't want to bring it up now and dive into it just a touch. But um, when most of us as authors, when we're writing a book, we are writing it to someone, we're writing it for someone, that type of thing. You and I had a quick conversation about this, and you had a very unique perspective on it. So, who were you writing this book to or for, and kind of what was the purpose?
Right. It's funny, after I finished it, And, I'm going to Barnes and Noble. I'm all over my husband and I do like to travel, but we love going into bookstores. And I'm sure you do too. It's fun. But I'd open this book and open that book and think, oh, people are dedicating books. Yeah, always, this is to my mother, this is to my children, this is to, and I thought, I didn't dedicate this to anybody because who am I writing this for and why am I doing all of this? And honestly, I feel like it's it was God orchestrated and I think it was showing my self-help to my faith-based writing, God leading me. All we have to do is obey. That's the hardest thing in the world. Sounds so simple. And I just obeyed and I started pushing myself out of comfort zones and I thought, oh, I'm gonna see this book through because I had about 100 reasons why not to do it. Fear being one of them, but I had mentioned that I love a good rhyme. I love repetition. I wanted to inspire, encourage, and to entertain and educate. And then all the fruit of the Spirit came into my life. And so I think I did this for just little kids, ages 3 to 6 is where my book is targeted to. What I didn't know is that after I published it, I started getting calls from schools to come in and do story time visits. So I always pray on the way over there, please let me be filled up with the Holy Spirit. Let me talk to these little sweethearts and be on the carpet with them and just read a story to them. I bring my dogs with me, so they love Mochi and Murphy. It's like show and tell at its finest. Here they are, folks, and so the kids love on them and pet them, and they're so good. The dogs are so good with the kids, so that's been a blessing. And then I'd like to back up just a little bit because after the book was going to publication, I thought, what can I do? Again, being an 80s lady, I grew up doing puppet shows. I grew up, and I don't know if you remember, we'd put little socks on our hands and we'd pretend and imagine and do all this creative stuff. And then there would be the wooden little stage that we would do and make things. And I thought, I'm going to make finger puppets that go along with this book. They're felt, they're cute. And I want to bring back finger puppets. It's screen-free time. Nobody is swiping a iPad. And I, a few sweet children who I asked about 4 and 5 year olds, they didn't know the ones that I talked to what to do with the finger puppet. And so I thought this is going to be fun. So um, friends that come with me into the classroom, they'll have the finger puppets and then show the kids how you can bring Mochi and Murphy alive, and it's good for creativity. And so I have that going on. Kids love stickers. I have stickers on my website. I bring stickers into the classroom, and kids love crafts. So we do a cute little bookmarker. I do most of it, as far as cutting things out and getting all that done. And then we do some fine motor skills, put a little tassel on it. They put stickers on it. They color it. They do whatever they want. And then a lot of the teachers say they've been really good for their accelerated reader programs, their little bookmarks for their AR classroom. And also, a lot of the teachers, they'll buy my book for the classroom, or they'll purchase a book for each student. And then I customize each book with the child's name and a little message for them. So I had no idea any of this was going to be happening, but I love getting back in the classroom because I used to be in a classroom teaching at that elementary school. And I understand kids. I can be silly with them. I'm very approachable. I'm not scary. And it's been so joyful, especially because now my children are late 20, early 30, and I just look at all these little sweethearts who are 4 and 5 and 6 and 7, and a few times I get emotional and I'm like, Kirsten, you got to get it together. You cannot go in that classroom and cry. And it's because I think of my own children and all their friends going way back to when they were little babies, and we never know any of our children how they're going to be, you know, at that moment in life, we cannot see how our kids are going to be. And so now that I've grown kids, I've lived a lot of life and I see these young little generation of children. I just want to love on them. So it is blessed me beyond. And I don't even know what the question was, Rory. I'm so sorry.
It's okay
Um,
because you answered it and then some, and I
I
love
don't
that.
even
So
know. I don't even know.
it's wonderful. That just means you're telling a fantastic story. You know,
Okay.
it sounds like you're pretty good at that. So I'm looking forward to checking out the book. It's funny because when we become authors, one of the things that people say is, well, it's not just about selling the book. It's about all the avenues that having the book opens up for you. And so you've been able to do live readings, enjoy, kids with the dogs, have all of these fantastic experiences from your book. Was this something that you hoped would happen, or was this all just something that just kept coming that was just great happenstance after you wrote the book?
I know I say this to some of my friends and family. They were like, "Really, Kirsten?" But I was like, my goal was to sell a book, one. And they went, "Really? That's such a terrible goal." And I said, my goal is to sell one book, and that is the truth. Listening to a few of your podcasts, you had said something like the book is your new business card. Did you say something like
I
that?
did say that. Man, you really did your research on me. I mean, I
And
love
I still have a little photographic memory, although brain fog is coming quick because I'm gonna hit a new decade soon. But um, that is so true. I feel like this book has gotten me out into community more. Um, it has made me want to reach out to new people. It has made me want to help people. Can we collaborate with a certain small business down the road? Sweet little boutique shops in my neighborhood sell the books. So I love to go in there, and if somebody was like, "Oh, I'm going to buy some finger puppets on the shelf and will you sign this book?" Yes. It's it's transformed me a bit too. It's given me some confidence in to go out there with and talk to people and just, I don't know, I'm taking them up on everything. Do you want to come over and do a pop-up at our shop? No. Yes. Do you want to be in the book festival with the, oh, yeah, okay. So I find that in life, a friend of mine said, if it's an easy yes, then you'll know. So all
that.
of this has been an easy yes for me. And then my publisher is saying, "Oh, you should start going on podcasts as a guest." What? Are you crazy? Don't you know I hate public speaking? Are you crazy? So that is something too that I talk a lot about, pushing out of comfort zones, because I was trying to teach my kids how to do that, and you can only do that through action. You
Yeah.
can't say get out of your comfort zone, because then the kid said to me, "Oh, what are you doing to get out of your comfort zone?" And I thought one thing I would love to do, but I would never do is improv, just acting.
Yeah.
That is something I've always wanted to do, and they challenged me and they said, "Why don't you go for it?" So I took 3 months every Monday from 6 to 9 of an improv class, and it was terrifying and scary. And thinking back to all that, I can't believe I did it. I wanted to quit after the first week. I was the oldest one in the class. There were 16 of us, but I learned so much. You make such a fool out of yourself. You go up on the stage, they tell you to do this, say this, you're this person, go. And I was like, and after all of that, I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself, and that led to other opportunities with Home Shopping Network and commercials and all of this other stuff that I would never have even dreamed. But I'm a big advocate of pushing out of your comfort zone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Commercials and home shopping network and the whole bit. I wish that I had another whole podcast right now to go into all of those things because you're just dropping these little nuggets along the way, which is great. I absolutely love this. The story behind the book is amazing. Your story's amazing. Let's a little brass tacks here and let everybody know how they can find the book, how they can find out more about you, how they can contact you, so on and so forth.
Great, thank you. I have a website, and it's kirstennelsontelan.com. And on that website, I have taken a lot of heart and care into building something that is joy-filled and colorful. I do a weekly newsletter. No, I don't. I do a monthly newsletter, and it's just pops of joy. And you could sign up for my newsletter. You can read my blog. You can take a look at final illustrations and early drafts, which I thought's interesting and maybe inspiring for people that are trying to do illustrations. Early drafts, how I did a lot of things, stickers, finger puppets. There are downloadable coloring pages, and I think it's pretty sweet. So I would love for your audience to go on over there and check it out.
Wonderful. Now, we do have to say there is one thing that's not available on the website that they have to contact you for directly if they want to find out more about.
Yes, yes, the finger puppets. Send me an email, give me a call, reach out to me on Instagram, Facebook, and I have the cutest finger puppets that go along with that book. And it does make the book come alive, the characters come alive. So that is one thing you'd have to contact me direct. I do sell them locally here in shops, but and I take them with me on book signings.
Nice. Okay. All right. Now, is there a way to email you through the website, or is it strictly through social media and that type of thing? Did they want to need to get a hold of you?
You'll find all of it there. My Instagram, all my socials are listed there for everybody.
Beautiful. All right. I love that. I do have one last question for you. You are now a published author. Congratulations on that. In addition to the blog and the Bible app and everything else that you have going on here, the what's the best piece of advice you have for those folks who are out there listening to us right now, who are not quite where you are yet in terms of being published authors?
You have to have heart and be passionate about whatever it is you want to be passionate about. Um, I would say authenticity and being genuine is really huge too, because if people don't know you and get to know who the author is, they're not going to buy your book. And I do feel like that is a fact. Um, but I just feel like be honest, have heart. You need to have a lot of grinding behind the scenes because I don't know if you got this, Rory. I'm sure you did, but people are like, "Oh, you wrote a book? That's amazing. How did you do that?" Nobody sees all the grind and all the challenges.
Yeah.
Also, a piece of advice is never tell anybody you want to write a book or you're writing a book because I feel like anything else, I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to run in a marathon. I want to write a book. People might hold you to that in a week or two or a month or a year later. Oh, you said you were going to write a book last year. You didn't. And then it's like, oh, no, I didn't. I didn't write it. I didn't get to it. So I feel like you have to do a lot of these things behind the scenes and push through all of it. And then that book is published. It just doesn't happen by waving a magical wand, but kind of keep that to yourself and push through and have your passion and have your heart and I think you'll be able to stick with it and be consistent and humble and get writing.
Great
Get yourself on
advice.
the right path. You knew I had to say that.
There we go. I didn't pay her for that either, folks. She came up with that all on her own. So that's such fantastic advice. It really is for everybody. And a lot of the stuff that you've given is just great life advice. Whatever it is you're grinding on, in the world, and you're grinding to try and get it out there. Do that in silence. Do it for yourself, and don't tell everybody what you're going to do. Tell everybody what you did. And let them see it for themselves. It just it's a lot easier that way, isn't it?
Yes,
So
yes.
wonderful. All right, I love this. I could sit here and talk to you for another hour, Kirsten. I'm telling you right now, because your story is amazing. You're amazing. It is the creator of the Confetti Effect blog and movement, sprinkle of confetti on the Bible app. Also, author of A Tale of Two Dogs, which we've been talking about here today. Folks, Kirsten I'm sorry, Kirsten Telan. Goodness gracious, I forgot how to talk. Kirsten, thank you for being on the show today. It's been amazing, and I had a great time. I hope you did too.
I sure did. Thank you so much.
Thank you, folks. This has been another just incredible episode of the Right Path podcast, where the truth still matters and words still have power. This is the place where authors know that every single page is a step forward towards finding the right path.